That voice in your head saying, "You're not enough. It isn't yours." That doubt that holds you back, it was installed. That fear keeping you small, it was programmed. And today is the day you finally break the code. Look at where you are right now. The gap between what you've achieved and what you're capable of isn't closing. It's widening with every moment you remain asleep to your true nature. This isn't about motivation. This is about awakening. You've spent years absorbing messages designed to keep you dependent, controllable, and ordinary. From your earliest moments, you were taught to seek approval, to fear rejection, to measure your worth through others' eyes. This programming wasn't an accident. It was a system that profits from your self-doubt, that gains power from your hesitation, that maintains control through your belief that you need permission to become extraordinary. This ends today, not gradually, not eventually. Today, I'm about to share 3 truths that will shatter the illusions keeping you trapped. These aren't pleasant affirmations or comfortable reassurances. These are the raw, unfiltered realities that most people spend their entire lives avoiding and pay the ultimate price for that avoidance. The first truth: everything you believe about your limitations is a lie, not an exaggeration, a deliberate, calculated lie. You've been told your entire life that power comes from external sources, from credentials that others control, from validation that others provide, from acceptance that others grant. This isn't just wrong. It's the exact opposite of reality. True power, the kind that cannot be taken away, comes from within. Not from your thoughts, not from your emotions, not even from your beliefs. It comes from something deeper and more fundamental: your decisions. In every moment, you are one decision away from a completely different life, not a dozen decisions, not a series of perfect choices. One decision. The decision to act from your truth rather than your programming. To move from your purpose rather than your fear. To speak from your core rather than your need for approval. This isn't metaphorical, this is literal. The gap between who you are and who you could be isn't gradually crossed. It's instantly bridged the moment you decide that you will no longer live according to implanted limitations. The second truth: the resistance you feel isn't protecting you. It's imprisoning you. That voice telling you to wait until you're ready, to gather more information, to start tomorrow. It masquerades as wisdom, as prudence, as self-care. It is none of these things. It is the guardian of your cage, doing exactly what it was designed to do: keep you safely contained. This resistance feels internal. It feels like it's coming from you, but it's not. It's the accumulated weight of every message that taught you to doubt yourself, every experience that showed you the consequences of standing out. Every moment you were rewarded for compliance and punished for authenticity. Most people never break through this resistance because they mistake it for their own intuition. They believe they're protecting themselves by holding back, by staying safe, by avoiding full commitment. In reality, they're allowing their programming to override their power. Breaking through isn't about fighting this resistance. Fighting gives it more strength. Breaking through is about recognizing that this voice isn't yours. It never was. And the moment you see this clearly, its power begins to dissolve. The third truth: your potential isn't something you develop. It's something you uncover. We've been taught that greatness requires building something that isn't there, adding skills, knowledge, connections, resources. This model ensures you always feel inadequate, always believe you need more before you can begin. The reality is precisely opposite. Your power isn't created through addition, but revealed through subtraction, by removing the false beliefs that hide it, by stripping away the masks that cover it, by releasing the hesitation that constrains it. You aren't becoming something new. You're uncovering what was always there beneath the layers of conditioning that taught you to be less than you are. This isn't spiritual platitude. This is practical reality. The most extraordinary human beings throughout history weren't those who accumulated the most, but those who freed themselves from the most, from the need for approval, from fear of judgment, from attachment to comfort, from dependency on validation. Now, these three truths trigger immediate resistance in most people. Their programming activates instantly to reject what threatens its control. You may be feeling it right now, the urge to dismiss these words as unrealistic, as oversimplified, as naive. Ask yourself, who benefits from that dismissal? Who gains power when you remain doubtful of your own? Whose interests are served when you continue believing that greatness is for others but not for you, not yours, never yours? Your life has been playing out according to a script you didn't write. Your beliefs about what's possible have been shaped by people who needed you to stay contained. Your ambitions have been calibrated to goals small enough to keep you satisfied, but not powerful enough to make you dangerous. The most insidious part? You've been convinced that this script is your own thinking, that these limitations are your authentic boundaries, that this cage is actually your home. It's time to tear up the script. Here's how you break the programming step by step. First, recognize that discomfort is not danger. The anxiety you feel when considering bold action isn't a warning. It's withdrawal symptoms from your addiction to safety. Like any withdrawal, it feels terrible precisely because it's healing, breaking dependencies that weaken you. When you feel that tightness in your chest, that knot in your stomach, that voice urging caution, recognize it for what it actually is. The sound of your old limitations fighting for survival. Not wisdom, not protection. Resistance to your liberation. Second, make decisions from your future, not your past. Your history is filled with evidence of your limitations only because you've been operating within a contained environment. Like judging a lion's abilities by watching it pace in a cage. That data is meaningless. Instead, make choices based on who you're committed to becoming, not who you've been conditioned to believe you are. This isn't denial. This is decision. The deliberate choice to act from your potential rather than your programming. Third, take immediate, irrevocable action. Not planning, not preparation. Action that burns the boats, that eliminates the possibility of retreat, that forces you to move forward because standing still is no longer an option. This isn't recklessness. This is the strategic recognition that your mind will always create reasons to wait until you make waiting impossible. Create conditions that demand your greatness rather than permit your mediocrity. Fourth, sever your dependency on external validation. This is perhaps the most difficult step because our need for approval is wired into our deepest programming. But as long as your sense of worth comes from outside yourself, you remain controllable. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or rejecting connection. It means evaluating input based on its alignment with your purpose. rather than its ability to make you feel accepted. It means recognizing that the approval you seek is actually a poor substitute for the self-alignment you need. Fifth, embrace the discomfort of being misunderstood. The moment you begin living from authentic power, you will confuse and concern those still living from programming. They'll question your choices, doubt your judgment, even attack your character. This resistance isn't personal. It's systemic. You represent a threat to a belief structure that keeps people comfortable, but limited. Your willingness to break free forces them to confront the boundaries they've accepted. Many will try to pull you back rather than question their own constraints. Let them. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Their discomfort is not your burden. Their inability to see beyond their programming is not your limitation. Now, I want you to understand something crucial. This awakening isn't gradual. It doesn't happen over months or years of incremental growth. It happens in an instant. The moment you make the fundamental decision to live from power rather than fear, purpose rather than programming, truth rather than approval. That moment can be right now, not after more preparation, not when circumstances improve, not when you feel less afraid. Now, the question isn't whether you're capable enough, strong enough, or ready enough. The question is whether you're willing to stop waiting for permission to be who you already are beneath the conditioning. Most won't make this choice, not because they can't, but because they've been programmed to believe that safety lies in limitation rather than liberation. They'll continue seeking validation from the very systems designed to keep them dependent. They'll keep postponing their power for someday while their life passes in comfortable constraint. But you're still listening. Something in these words resonates with a truth you've always sensed but couldn't articulate. A recognition that the boundaries containing your life aren't real walls but projections, believed into existence through continuous reinforcement. Listen to that recognition. It's the one authentic voice beneath the chorus of programming, the one signal amid the noise of conditioning, the one truth among countless implanted limitations. What is it telling you to do? What bold action has it been urging that your programming has been blocking? What truth has it been whispering that your fear has been silencing? These aren't mysterious messages. They're crystal clear guidance that your system has been trained to filter out. Remove the filter. Hear the guidance. Act on it immediately. The world doesn't reward potential. It doesn't acknowledge intention. It responds to demonstration, to manifestation, to the physical expression of what would otherwise remain theoretical power. Your unique insights change nothing until voiced. Your brilliant solutions solve nothing until implemented. Your extraordinary capacity transforms nothing until expressed. The gap between capabilities and contribution is where most potential dies. Not because it isn't valuable, but because it remains unrealized. Close that gap, not eventually. Now, this is what separates those who transform their lives from those who spend decades in cycles of temporary motivation and inevitable regression. The former make the decision that changes everything. The latter make the incremental improvements that change nothing fundamental. Be honest. How long have you been working on yourself? Reading the books, watching the videos, attending the seminars, setting the goals, making the plans. And yet, the fundamental limitations remain because the fundamental decision hasn't been made. The decision to claim your power without permission, to express your truth without dilution, to pursue your purpose without apology, not as an affirmation you repeat, but as a reality you embody in every action, every word, every choice. This decision isn't made once. It's made continuously in each moment when your programming activates to pull you back into familiar limitation. In each situation where safety competes with authenticity. In each choice between comfortable constraint and uncomfortable growth. But the initial decision, the one that changes everything, can only be made now, in this moment. Not after finishing this video, not tomorrow morning. Now stand up, physically stand up wherever you are. Feel the weight of your existence. Feel the accumulated potential of every experience, every insight, every capability you've developed. Feel the reality of who you are beneath who you've been conditioned to be. Now make the decision, not that you'll try, not that you'll improve, but that from this moment forward, you will live from your power, not your programming. You will act from your truth, not your fear. You will speak from your purpose, not your need for acceptance. Feel the immediate shift in your energy. This isn't imagination. This is the physical sensation of alignment between your authentic nature and your conscious choice. The integration that happens when you stop fighting who you really are to maintain who you've been told to be. Most people will never experience this alignment. They'll spend their lives with their power working against their programming, creating the constant tension, fatigue, and dissatisfaction that characterizes modern existence. They'll seek endless external solutions for this internal conflict, finding temporary relief but never lasting resolution. You now stand at the threshold of a fundamentally different life. Not because circumstances have changed, but because you have made the decision that changes how you interact with every circumstance. Not because limitations have disappeared, but because you have recognized their illusory nature. What will you do with this awakening? Will you allow it to become merely another temporary state, fading as your programming reasserts control? Or will you anchor it through immediate, decisive action that makes retreat impossible? The answer to that question determines everything that follows. Not your potential, not your capabilities, not your knowledge or skills or resources. Your decision, right now. The world has waited long enough for your unleashed power, for your undiluted truth, for your uncompromised purpose. So have you. What happens next is entirely your choice.